everyone, welcome back to Storytime with Anna. Today we will be reading Junie B. Jones is Not a Crook by Barbara Park. Chapter 1 No Good Reason. My name is Junie B. Jones. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. Here's a story for you. It's called Once Upon a Time, My Grandfather named Frank Miller went to the store and he bought me some mittens. Once upon a time, my grandfather named Frank Miller went to the store and he bought me some mittens. They are made out of black furry fur. And guess what? It was not even my birthday or Christmas or Valentine's Day. Plus, the mittens were not even on sale. Grandpa Miller just bought them for no good reason. And that is the bestest reason I ever heard of. And how that's how come I love that guy very much. Plus, he also can skip. The end. I like that story a real lot. Because guess why? I didn't even make it up. That's why. The adventure actually happened to me. My Grandpa Miller really did buy me mittens for no good reason, and they are gorgeous, I tell you. When I first opened them, I got filled with glee. Glee is when you run and jump and skip and laugh and clap and dance on top of the dining room table. And then your mother takes you down from the table and she carries you to your room for a timeout. Timeout kills the glee. I wore my new mittens the whole entire morning. Plus, I also wore them to afternoon kindergarten. I wore them with my attractive winter jackets, only it wasn't actually cold out. Only who even cares? Because that outfit looks very beautiful together. I showed my mittens to my bestest friend named Grace. Also, I showed them to a variety of strangers. After I got to school, I held my hands over my head and I ran all over the playground. Look, everybody, look at my new mittens. My Grandpa Frank Miller bought them for no good reason. I waved them around in the air. How many children can see these lovely things? Raise your hand. So I hollered. Nobody raised their hand. How many children think these mittens are gorgeous? Please come forward. I yelled. Nobody came forward. I put my hands back down and walked to that Grace. I couldn't create any interest, I said, very glum. Only guess what? Just then I spotted my other bestest friend named Lucille. I ran my fastest to greet her. Lucille, Lucille, look at my new mittens. See them? They are made out of black furry fur. Lucille petted them. My family has lots of fur, she said. My mother has a fur cape, and my aunt has a fur jacket, and my uncle has a fur hat. Plus, my Nana just bought me a brand new mink coat, only she can't wear it outside the house or people throw paint on her. My mouth came all the way open. Why, Lucille? Will people throw paint on your Nana? I asked. Lucille crossed her arms. Don't you know anything, Junie B. Jones? It's because people who love furry animals don't like them being made into coats for nanas. Just then I felt relief in me, 'cause I'm not even a nana, that's why. And besides, my mittens aren't made out of real furry animals. They are made out of fake furry animals, and those kinds don't even count. All of a sudden, the bell rang for school, and I zoomed to my room like a speeding rocket. Because guess why? More people to show my mittens to. That's why. Chapter 2 Fur Hands. I showed my mittens to my teacher. Her name is Mrs. She has another name too, but mm, like, but I just like Mrs. and that's all. Feel them, Mrs. I said. Feel how soft they are. I rubbed them on my face. Ooh, they are soft. Junie B, she says. Please, mm, mm, be sure to put them in your jacket pocket so they won't get lost, okay? I skipped, very happy, to my seat. Yeah, only I'm not even going to lose them, I said just to myself. I am going to wear them right on my hands the whole livelong day, just 'cause I love these guys, that's why. I took off my attractive winter jacket and sat down at my table. Then I tapped on Lucille. Mm, mm, with my furry mittens. Hello, how are you today? I have fur hands. See them, Lucille? See my hands of fur? I flew them in the air. This is what fur hands look like when they're flying in the air, I said. I waved hello. This is what fur hands look like when they're waving hello, I said. Lucille did a frown. You're being annoying, she said. That's how come I turned around. And I smiled at a boy named William. I have fur hands, William. See them? See my fur hands? I tapped on his head. And this is what fur hands look like when they're tapping on your head, I said. Just then I got up from my chair and I skipped to my boyfriend named Ricardo. I tickled him under his chin with my softy hands of fur. This is what fur hands look like when they're tickling you under your chin, I said. Then I grinned and grinned, 'cause that boy brings out the best in me. That's why. Pretty soon, Mrs. saw me out of my seat. She held my hand and marched me back to my table. This is how fur hands look when they're marching to my table, I said. Mrs. popped me in my chair. Then she pulled off my fur hands and she put them on her desk. I did a sigh. That is how fur hands look when they're no longer in your possession, I whispered, just to myself. After that, I put my hands on. Mm, After that, I put my head on my desk and I covered up with my arms, and I didn't come out for a real long time. Chapter 3: Being Brownie. Mrs. said I could have my men's back at recess, and I stared and stared at the clock. Then I tapped my fingers on my table, and I did loud breaths. Lucille tattletaled on me. Junie B keeps tapping her fingers and making loud breaths, and I can't even concentrate on my work, she grouched. Mrs. came to my table. Hello, how are you today? I said, kind of nervous. I'm fine, except I don't actually have my mittens. She tapped her foot real fast. That was not a good sign, I think. Only guess what? Just then the bell rang for recess. Oh boy, I yelled, oh boy, 'cause now I can have my mittens back, right? Missus, right? I zoomed to her desk and put them on my hands. Then I rubbed those softy things all over my cheeks. It's good to be with you again, I whispered into their fur. After that, I put on my attractive winter jacket and I skipped outside with my friends. Mm, Me and Tattletale Lucille and that Grace play horses together at recess. I am Brownie, Lucille is Blackie, and Grace is Yellowy. I'm Yellowy, shouted that Grace. I'm Blackie, shouted Lucille. I'm Brownie, I shouted. Only just then I looked at my mittens. I did a frown, because there was a bit of a problem here, I think. Yeah, only how can I even be Brownie? because my horse paws are black, and so I am two different colors apparently. Lucille said, Lucille and that Grace did frowns too. Hmm, said that Grace. Said Lucille. I said. Just then, that Grace clapped her hands together, very excited. I know, Junie B. Today, you and Lucille can trade, and Lucille can be Brownie, and you can be Blackie. And so, that way your horse paws will be the right color. Me and Lucille looked mm, and looked at that girl, 'cause what kind of crazy idea was that? I did a huffy breath. Yeah, only how can I even be Blackie when I'm already Brownie, Grace? Mm, I said, I have been Brownie for my whole entire career. You can't just go changing that, you know. Yeah, Grace, you can't just go changing, mm, said Lucille. Mm, That Grace looked embarrassed at herself. Oh, yeah, what was I thinking? Mm, she said, very mumbling. After that, all of us sat down in the grass and we tapped on our chins. We thinked and thinked and thinked. Then, all of a sudden, my whole face lighted up. Hey, I just thought of it. I thought of it. I know exactly what to do, I shouted. I jumped up. I started again. Grace, you said, Grace, say your name again. Say that you are yellowy. Mm, That Grace looked curious at me. I'm yellowy, she said. I pointed to Lucille. I'm Blackie, she said. Next, I spun around real joyful. I'm Brownie, I shouted. Only guess what? Yesterday, my grandpa Brownie bought me black furry mittens, and so that's how come I am two different colors apparently. After that, all of us did high fives and we started playing horses. We galloped and trotted and snorted and snuffled. Only too bad for me, 'cause the sun kept on beating down on my horse head, and I got drippity inside my attractive winter jacket. Mm, I am going to die from heat perspiration, I said. That's how come I trotted over to a tree and I took off all my stuff. First, I took off my attractive winter jacket. Then, I took off my furry black mittens and I piled mm, them in a careful pile. After that, I galloped my way to find my horse friends, and we played and played. Pretty soon, Mrs. blew her loud whistle. That means the end of recess. Coming, shouted Yellowy. Coming, shouted Blackie. Coming, I shouted. Then I hurried back to the tree to get my stuff. Only guess what? I saw something very terrible there. That's what. Mm, and it's called, Hey, somebody stole my mittens. Chapter 4, No Teddy Backpack. I run all around the tree. 911, 911, 911, I hollered. Somebody stole them. Somebody stole my mittens. Mrs. came very quick. They stole them. They stole my mittens. 911, I shouted some more. Mrs. bended down next to me. Who, Junie B? Who stole them? She asked. "Mm, A stealer, that's who. A stealer stole them. And so what kind of school is this? Because I didn't even know there was crooks at this place. Mrs. said, calm, mm, calm down, my voice. Yeah, only I can't even calm it down that good, because I am heartsick, that's why. Heartsick is the grown-up word for when your heart is sick. I looked at the ground real sad. Now all I have left is my dumb attractive jacket. Mrs. picked it up. Then she holded my hand, and me and her started to walk. You and I are going to the office, she told me. I quick tried to get my hand away from her. No, missus, I'm not allowed to go there. Mother said if I get sended to the office mm, one more time, I will get grounded, young lady. Tears came in my eyes. Grounded, young lady, is when I have to stay on my own ground, I said. Plus, I also can go on the rug. Mrs. smiled. I'm not taking you to the principal's office to punish you, Junie B., she said. I'm taking you to find your mittens. I did a gasp. Principal? I asked, very shocked. Principal stole my mittens? Mrs. laughed real loud. No, Junie B., he didn't steal your mittens. The office is where the lost and found is located. After that, she took my hand again and we hurried up to the office. There's a grouchy typing lady at that place. I am not fond of her. Junie B needs to look through the lost and found, Mrs. told her. Please send her back to my class when she is finished. Then Mrs. went back to room 9 and left me there all by myself. The typing lady looked over the counter at me. I did a gulp. Yeah, only I'm not even bad today. I explained, very nervous. Somebody stole my mittens, and that was the end of, and that is the end of my tale. The typing lady kept on looking at me. She didn't say any words. Sweat came on my head. Boo. It's warm mission here, isn't it? I said. Just then, I heard the door open. It was Principal. He was coming out of his office. I jumped up and down at his sides, 'cause I know that guy very good. Principal, look, it's me, Junie B. Jones. My mittens got stolen on the playground, and so Mrs. Brought me here to get them. So just hand them over and I'll be on my way. No questions asked. Principal looked funny at me. Then he went closer. Then he went to the closet and pulled out a big box. This is the lost and found, Junie B., he explained. Anytime someone finds something that's been lost, they bring it here and we put it in this box. How come? I asked. How come they bring it here instead of taking it home? Because one time I found a nickel in the street and Daddy said I could put it in my bank. Because finding isn't the same thing as stealing, right, Principal? Finding is a lucky duck. Principal laughed a little bit. Well, finding a nickel in the street is different, Junie B., he said. For one thing, it would be almost impossible to discover who the owner of the nickel really was. And for another thing, losing a nickel isn't really a big deal. But when someone loses something personal, like mittens, for instance, well, that is a very big deal. And so if someone else finds the mittens, they can bring them here to the lost and found, and the owner can get them back. He smiled, and that makes everyone happy. Junie B., he said. The owner is happy because she found she has her mittens back, and the person who found them is happy because she's done a good deed. He pointed to a piece of paper taped on the box. See, this is a poem the third grade wrote about the lost and found. It says, if you find stuff, bring it in. All day long, you'll wear a grin. I did a frown. Yeah, only here's the problem. I didn't lose my mittens. They got stolen on purpose. And so no one will bring them in and wear a grin, probably. Principal raised his eyebrows. Well, you never know, Junie B. Why don't you look in there and see? He opened the box up. Mm, he opened up the box for me. That's when my eyes got big and wide, because it was filled with the wonderfulest items I ever saw. There were sweaters and sweatshirts and baseball caps and gloves and balls and a lunchbox and a scarf and sunglasses and a watch with Mickey Mouse on it. Also, there was a backpack that looked like a teddy bear. Ooh, I've always wanted one of these, I hollered, real thrilled. I put it mm, on my back and skipped around the office. How mm, how does it look back there? I asked. Principal ran after me. He looked. He took the teddy off my back and put it back in the box. We're looking for your mittens, remember? Just then, I felt mm, upset again because I almost forgot about those furry guys. That's why. Mm, Yeah, only my. Yeah. Oh, yeah, my mittens, I said, very glum. I looked through the box some more. They're not there, I said. My mittens are gone forever, I think. I did a sad sigh. Then I picked up the teddy backpack again. Maybe I'll take this instead, I said, because mm, this teddy backpack will ease my pain, I believe. Principal said no. How come? I asked, because the owner doesn't even want it anymore, I bet. Her mother probably, mm, her mother already bought mm, her a new teddy backpack, probably. And so this one is just going to go to waste. Principal stood me up and turned me to the door. That meant that meant I'm leaving, I think. Mm, Come back tomorrow and look for your mittens again, he said. I talked real fast. Yeah, only I just remembered something. I used to have mm, a teddy bear backpack just like that one, maybe. Only then I lost it, probably. And so I better take that one home with me, or else my mother might be mad. The principal walked me to the door. He he faced me down the hall. Goodbye, Junie B, he said. I hung my head real disappointed, because guess what? Goodbye means no teddy bear backpack. Chapter 5 Gargling and Scribbling. Room 9 is way far from principal's office. I had to stop at the water fountain, or else I might not make it. I pressed the water button with my thumb. Then I puckered up my lips and I sucked the water in. I didn't even put my mouth on the spout because mm, there's lip dirt on that thing, of course. I sloshed the water all around in my cheeks. Then I bended my head way back and I did some gargles. I can gargle very perfect, except I can't keep the water in my actual mouth. It runs out the sides and dribbled on the floor. I splashed it I splashed in it with my toe. That's when I saw something very wonderful down there. Hey, it's one of those pens that writes four different colors, I said. I quick picked it up and mm, pushed the little red button on top. A red pen mm, down, popped out of the bottom. I scribbled mm, red scribble all over my head. Wowie, wow, wow, I love this thing, I said. After that, I pushed the green button and scribbled green scribble. And I pushed the blue button and scribbled blue scribble. Plus, mm, also, I pushed the black button and scribbled black scribble. This pen makes scribbling a pleasure, I said. I put it in my pocket and started skipping to room 9. Only too bad for me, 'cause all of a sudden I remembered about the lost and found. I stopped. Oh no, I wish I didn't even remember about that. I said, because now I have to take my pen to the lost and found, or else I won't wear a grin. I did a frown, because something didn't make sense here. That's why. Yeah, only I was already wearing a grin. I said, "Mm, I weared a grin as soon as I saw this wonderful thing, and so taking it to the office will only make me sad." I tapped on my chin. Maybe principal is a little mixed up about this. Mm, I said to just myself. I'm pretty sure I will be even happier if I keep it. And there's another thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking whoever owned this pen didn't even take good care of it. So I will give it a good home. And so what mm, mm, that can be, and so what can be a gooder deed than that? I took it out of my pocket and looked at it. Plus, this even makes sense because first I got my mittens stolen, and then I couldn't have the teddy backpack, and so keeping this pen is fair and square. All of a sudden, my whole face lighted up because I just thought of a different poem. That's why. And it's called Finders, Keepers, Losers, Weepers. Finders, Keepers, Losers, Weepers. I said, real thrilled. Finders, Keepers, Losers, Weepers. Then I jumped up and down, very happy, because everybody says that. And so, Finders, Keepers is really the rule, I bet. After that, I put the pen back in my pocket and I skipped the rest of the way to room 9. Chapter 6. My grandpa's wallet. I kept my pen in my pocket the whole rest of the day. I didn't want people to see it, or else they might tattletale to Mrs. and she would make me take it to the lost and found. I behaved myself very good because I didn't want to attract attention. That's why. I kept my hand in my pocket so my pen would not fall out. Also, I kept thinking about my mittens because I still missed those furry guys. I put my head down on the table. Maybe my grandpa Miller might buy me some more mm, furry mittens, I whispered, because that would be a perfect solution, I think. I raised my hand. Hey, yeah, that then I would have a wonderful new mittens. Mm, Then I would have wonderful new mittens plus a wonderful new pen. And so, what more can a girl ask for? That's what I'd like to know. I sat up in my chair and tapped on Lucille. Because guess what, Lucille? Maybe my grandpa Frank Miller might buy me some new mittens, and then all my troubles will be over. Lucille said, "Whoop-de-doo for me. I know, I know it is whoop-de-doo." I said, real thrilled. And so, thank you for your support. After school, me and my bestest friend named Grace rode the bus together. I run home from my corner like a speedy bullet. My grandpa Frank Miller was babysitting my brother named Ollie. Grandpa Frank Miller, we gotta go to the mitten store. We gotta go to the mitten store. I hollered real loud. Grandpa Frank Miller was in the living room rocking Ollie. He looked funny at me. Go where? He asked. To the mitten store. To the mitten store. We gotta go to the mitten store. I pulled on his hand. Get up. Let's get a wiggle on. Grandpa Miller looked confused at me. That's how come I had to sit down, and I told him what had happened at school. Mm, Someone stole my mittens, I said. They stole them while I was being Brownie, and I didn't even know there were crooks at that place. Grandpa Frank Miller shook his head very sad. I guess you can find crooks almost anywhere, honey, he said. I know it, I told him. That's how come I'm never going to see those furry guys again. And so you and me have to go to the mitten store. I felt his back pocket. Then I danced around real thrilled. Hooray! I shouted, hooray for your big fat wallet. 'Cause you got cash in there, right, Grandpa? Right, right. Grandpa Frank Miller laughed. Yes, I do. I, I've got cash all right, he said, but I'm afraid we won't be able to buy you more mittens. The mittens I bought you were the only furry ones they had left, and I bought the very last pair. Just then, all the happy went right out of me, 'cause I didn't actually count on this terrible development. Yeah, only we have to, Grandpa. We have to buy more furry mittens, or else what will I ever do? Grandpa Miller ruffled my hair. Did you look in the lost and found at school? He asked. I did a sad breath. Yeah, only mm, that dumb thing doesn't work that good because people don't always turn stuff in. I patted my new pen in my pocket. Trust me on this, I said real soft. Well, your mittens could still turn up, he said. Folks will surprise you sometimes. Then he told me a story about his wallet. A few years ago, I lost my wallet at the mall. I was sure I would never see it again, he said. I bobbed my head up and down. "Mm, I know it. That's because of finders keepers, losers weepers," I said. Finders keepers, losers weepers is the rule, right, Grandpa? Grandpa Miller smiled. Well, it might be the rule for some people, he said, but luckily it's not the rule for everyone. Because the very next day, when I went out to get my mail, there it was. My wallet was sitting right smack in the middle of my mailbox, and not one single penny was missing. Mm, His eyes looked very happy and sparkly. Can you imagine that, little girl? Mm, He asked. Someone had the chance to take everything in my wallet, but instead they drove all the way to my house and they put it in my mailbox. Just then he reached in his back pocket and pulled out his wallet. Look, what they would have lost mm, if they hadn't returned it, he said. He took a picture out of his wallet and handed it to me. It's you, it's you and a baby, mm, I said. But that's not just any baby, he said. That's you, Junie B. That's a picture of the very first time I ever held you. He took the picture back and stared at it. Nicest thing a stranger ever did for me, bringing this picture back, he whispered real soft. Then he leaned over again and he kissed me on my head. Chapter 7. The Pink Fluffy Girl. After I talked to my grandpa, I went to my room. I closed my door real secret. Then I took my wonderful pen out of my pocket and I did a big sigh because I had confusion in me. That's why. I wish I never mm, heard that wallet story, I said, because finders keepers, losers weepers isn't the rule apparently. And so now maybe I might be a crook. Look, I looked at my wonderful pen. Yeah, only I didn't even feel like a crook, but mm, I feel like a lucky duck. Mm, But I still have to take this thing to the lost and found probably, and then it will go to waste just like the teddy backpack. All of a sudden, I heard Mother and Daddy come home from work. I quick hid my pen under my mattress because those two would not understand those two would not be understanding of this situation. They came in my room and kissed me hello. I told them what happened to my mittens. Then I begged and begged for them to take me to the store, but Mother said there's no more left, and Daddy said there's no more left too. And so mm, there was no more left apparently. That's how come I got all depressed. That mm, that's how come I got depressed all over again, and I couldn't even sleep that good that night. Mm, I kept on wondering about mm, who was the mitten crook and what did he look like. Because I've seen crooks on TV before, and they are biggish and meanish with tattoos on themselves. Just then, I sat up in my bed because a good idea popped into my head. That's why. Hey, a tattoo is easy to spot, I bet, I said. And so maybe I can find mm, that crook on the playground tomorrow. After that, I went straight to sleep because I would need my strength for crook looking. The next day at recess, I didn't play horses with Lucille and that Grace. Instead, I run all around the playground looking for the mittens. Only too bad for me because most of the children had their jackets on, and so I couldn't even see any crooks with tattoos. Pretty soon the bell rang. Mm, That is when my eyes got tears in them because I would never mm, see my mittens again. Not ever, ever, never. I started walking to room 9. My nose was sniffling and drippy. I wiped it on my attractive jacket sleeves. Then all of a sudden, a pink fluffy girl skipped past me. She had on a pink fluffy dress with mm, pink fluffy socks and shoes, and a pink fluffy jacket made of pink fluffy fur. And guess what else? She had black furry mittens in her pink fluffy pockets. My eyes got big and wide. Hey, my mittens, my mittens, my mittens. I screamed real loud. Then I put my head down and I zoomed at her like a speeding bull. Mrs. saw me running. She grabbed me by my attractive winter jacket. I jumped up and down and pointed. That fluffy, mm, that pink fluffy girl stole my mittens. She's the crook. Only her jacket is covering up her tattoo, and so that's what had me stumped. Mrs. called to the pink fluffy girl. She skipped over to where we were. I kept on jumping. You stole them. You stole my mittens. I said, No, I didn't. She said, I didn't steal anything. I found these mittens. They were right in the grass, so I thought nobody wanted them. I did, I yelled. I wanted them. My Grandpa Miller bought them for no good reason. And I've been worrying about them all day and all night. And that is called heartache, madam. Mrs. said to shush my voice. She took my mittens. She took my mittens away from the pink fluffy girl and gave them back to me. Then she bended down and she talked to the pink fluffy girl real serious. Even if you thought no one wanted these mittens, it was wrong for you to take them, she told her. The pink fluffy girl pointed at me, but she didn't even take good care of them, she said. I stamped my foot. Yes, I did. I did too take care of them. I left them with my attractive winter jacket because I didn't even know there were crooks at this place. Mrs. said, hush to me. You should have taken them to the lost and found, she told the pink fluffy girl. Yeah, 'cause then I would have found them when I looked there, I said. And so, what do you think that box is there for? My health? Then The pink fluffy girl started to cry, but I really, really love them. She said. Mrs. smoothed her hair. I'm afraid that's not the issue, she said. Yeah, we're afraid that's not the issue, I said, because finders keepers isn't the rule, apparently. And from now on, if you find my stuff, you have to take it to the lost and found. Plus, also, mm, mm, you can put it in my Grandpa Miller's mailbox. Mrs. Looked at me for a real long time. She said I'm getting on her nerves. After that, she held the pink fluffy girl's hand and they went to talk to her teacher. I quick put my mittens on. Then I buried my face in their black fur and I danced mm, around real joyful. Chapter 8. I am not a crook. The next day I went to principal's office. The grouchy typing lady looked over the counter at me. I rocked back and forth on my feet. Yeah, only I'm not even bad again. I said, I just need to go to the lost and found, and that's all. The grouchy lady opened up the closet. She pulled out the box. Just then the phone rang, and she hurried mm, up to answer it. I quick bended down and digged my hands in the lost and found. Then my heart got very thrilled, 'cause I saw that wonderful teddy backpack again. That's why. Then why I snuggled my face in his tummy. I still love this soft guy, I whispered. I put him on my back and skipped all around. The grouchy typey lady hanged up the phone. Did you lose that too? She asked me. Is that why you're here? I kept on standing there. I kept on standing there and standing there. Well, she said. Finally, I did a big sigh. Then I walked very slowly. Then I walked very slow back to the box. And I took off the teddy backpack. No, I said, not why. After that, I reached in my pocket and I pulled out my wonderful pen. I found this, I said. It was on the floor by the water fountain. And I really, really love it. Only that's not the issue. Then I did a big, deep breath and I dropped my wonderful pen into the lost and found. I am not a crook, I said, kind of quiet. The grouchy lady looked nicer at me. She ruffled her hair. No, she said, of course you're not a crook. After that, I rocked back and forth on my feet some more, and I waited and waited and waited. The typing lady raised up her eyebrows at me. I'm waiting for the grin, I explained. Only there seems to be a delay. She laughed right out loud. That's when I felt it, the grin. It came right on my face. Hey, it's working, I said real squeakly. I skipped around, I skipped all around the office very happy. Then the typing lady opened up the door and I skipped all the way to room 9. And guess what? I, I didn't even find a pen that writes 4 different colors, and that was a big relief. The end.